I try to stay out of spats that don't involve me directly, but this hit piece by Walker Bragman on Jimmy Dore is too pathetic to ignore. Walker provides no evidence, just relies on the resentment of bitter TYT liars and faults Jimmy for enforcing standard contract provisions. Oh wow. Oh wow. We're gonna go through this thread. For some reason I only saw the that. But anyway, let's continue. JD faulted for binding workers to respect his privacy via non-disclosure agreements, which bar discussing anything they learn about Dore, his wife, or their collaborators on the job, including details about their business, personal lives, finances, investments, and more. And let me see, what is this here? Oh yeah, this is the thing they got it from. Import content. So that's he's screenshotting some of the article parts. So an independent contractor agreement used by YouTube production company reveals anti-worker provisions. And the document contains a thorough 9-page, and these are excerpts from the article, so maybe I won't have to read because I was just going to read expert. I'm not reading that. It's literal garbage. It's literal, just like, oh, these person said this. Like, it's like that's why he put it on Substack and it's not on any other thing. Because he's not an independent reporter. I don't think. I think he works because I haven't looked at this guy in a while. So let me actually look it up before I start saying stuff here, because he could be independent. What is he on? I don't know. I don't think he has it listed here. He just has a Substack, which is his thing. So, which is fine. So if he has a Substack and that's his only, then maybe he is an independent reporter. So let's continue. I don't know much about him, so I don't want to say much. I know a lot of you know a lot more about him than I do, and I don't want to put that out. I don't want to say more than I haven't confirmed in my own self. So I will leave it there. But I know a lot of you know a lot more about him because I've seen the comment. I've already seen the comments. The documents contain a thorough 9-page, three-page long confidentiality section, effectively prohibiting contractors from discussing anything they learn about Dore, his wife, or their collaborators on the job, including details about their businesses, personal lives, finances, investments, and more. Now, I know non-disclosure agreements is a topic of discussion on the left, and as a issue with worker rights. RBN, when we were FHL, this is actually a discussion we have about, do we want to do NDAs? I mean, we all voted against it. I think it was unanimous, but there was at least a discussion about it. Because in the beginning, before we started, we were at 5,000. We were like, yeah, what if this thing actually gets big? And I don't want people know. And I was one of those, like, yeah, I don't want people knowing my personal life and coming to my house, because I will shoot a motherfucker quick and ask questions later. So there was a concern which prompted the conversation, but then we all decided not to do it. So I do know there's a discussion or debate, maybe is a better word to say, on the left about that. Is this 6.4? Maybe this is 6.4. Maybe this is an excerpt out of the contract, and it says, contractor acknowledges and agrees. Oh, this is the actual wording from the contract. Contractor acknowledges and agrees that the privacy of Steph Zamarano, I always say Steph Z. So Steph Z and James Dore, which is Jimmy Dore, their family members and the individuals whom they collaborate are highly valued, and that their efforts are made to maintain confidentiality with respect to all information and other materials of every kind concerning them. Accordingly, contract agreements that he, she, it, they shall not at any time use or disclose, directly or indirectly, any information in any way relating to Steph or James or Jimmy Dore, their families, or any individual with whom they collaborate, including but not limited to any information concerning their business, personal life, finances, investments, performance, professional relationships, or otherwise, and all such information shall be deemed to be confidential and proprietary information, and treated as such. Because it feels like I shouldn't have to even go through this, and that's the flash I just had now. Like, why do I even have to go through this? But it's because we have people who are marketing themselves as journalists, who are marketing themselves as good faith, and they're not. They're not. And RBN has had similar attacks. We've had people put information out that they found on LinkedIn, about members here, and not members, but members' relatives, members' in laws. Why is that? Would they be doing that if we were just saying, "Yeah, let's work. AOC is great"? Would that be happening? So really, like the banner says, attacks on anti-democratic voices. I mean, is this even a news? This is this even rises to where it should even be a news story? Let's continue with the thread. Non-disclosure agreements are pretty standards. Does Jimmy not have the right to privacy? Question mark. He does. That's why a TYT producer even has to admit that this provision lines up with the kind of person who wants to protect themselves. This is an excerpt from the article. So this is great. I ain't gonna have to pull up that bullshit ass article because Aaron has a thread that covers the points, and we'll cover this one here. Dan Evans, a former TYT associate producer who worked on Dore's show, Aggressive Progressive, offered up similar diagnosis, explaining, quote, he is not really that ideological, but knows a couple of buzzwords and knows how to do his canned rant that he's been doing for almost a decade at this point. Now, let me just pause here before I get to the rest. What about this first part that is included in a serious article supposedly has anything to do with anything? Your opinion on his ideology. And this is what I pointed out on Twitter. The irony in progressive Democrats pointing out that somebody's not that ideological is laughable to me. The progressive Democrats who are all of a sudden for war, all of a sudden for the Israeli state, all of a sudden who's for Joe Biden now, and Hakeem Jeffries and the squad voted for him. Fuck out of here, man. Let's continue. Quote, I mean, that sort of contract lines up with the kind of person who may have had issues with workers in the past and wants to protect themselves. This is why I feel like it's like, why am I even going over this? But it's needed. because the clown crew, the Vanguards and the Sheratons, they jumped on this shit. Look, look, not even serious about workers themselves. Look. Look what anti-worker Jimmy Dore is doing. This is such a professional managerial class stunt and a professional manager. This only works with that group. There's no worker at Walmart who's looking at this going, oh, okay, well, I guess this. No one. This only works with people who are projecting to be for workers who are not. Look at this provision. Weak as fuck. Let's continue. But in like I'm sorry, Evans says, but in like broader context, this is a person who causes issues with people he works with. So Dan Evans is one of the people that Aaron Monte refers to as XTYT disgruntled. I don't think he's used disgruntled. XTYT employees. After reading this, I can go back and get the clarification. But let's continue in the thread. There might be a couple more items here. This one here. The other of Jimmy's harsh provisions that is in the case of dispute, employees commit to forced arbitration. But down below, Walker admits that arbitration is common in many work contracts, sometimes preferred in union workplaces, and often faster than litigation. Now, this does not at all say that you are for arbitration. I don't want you to get that idea. But what I'm saying is, or what Aaron is pointing out here is, how are you saying this is common, but you're writing an article as if Jimmy Dore is doing something nefarious? That's the point. You're making it seem like he's doing something nefarious, but at the same time saying this is typical, like what Dan Evans said, and also what he's saying here. And what's so funny, these are TYT employees. TYT employees under Cenk Uygur. Union busting Cenk Uygur. Those people who work for him are now upset at Jimmy Dore for provisions in his contract with a handful of employees or contractors. Maybe y'all should not be the one delivering this message. After admitting that arbitration is common and even preferred, he points out the document. Harsh provisions that disadvantage workers, including forced arbitration. And then he has the provision. I'm not going to read all of this legal language, but this is the arbitration information that you can look up. This is the actual excerpt from the contract. And then it's, I'll read just the highlight. Common in many work contracts, sometimes preferred in union workplaces and other faster than litigation. Arbitration can be an obstacle to relief for workers. For example, and it can. And that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Let's continue. After admitting, is this the one after admitting arbitration is common and even preferred by unions, Walker compensates by claiming that arbitration deprives workers of their ability to be heard by a jury. I don't know maybe he did say that. I don't recall the to be heard by a jury. But forced arbitration is not that good. But yes, and it also deprives everyone involved of time consuming court cases and heavy legal cost. So that's the point. I do want to finish this out because I think the point is belabored that this is just more of this nonsense here. Um, Having Zurich to go on, Walker Bragman turns to Jimmy's ex-colleagues at the middle-age McCarthyite TYT. He maybe doesn't realize that they've already been caught lying about Jimmy Dore, and he provides the video, but I'm not going to go into this all of that. So he lets them lie again. But if you want to go and source all of this stuff, there is the source there. I don't need to do that. Anna, the first fabulist, claims that Jimmy made comments about her legs. No, the original allegation, the one that TYT tried to fake me to meet him over. Oh, I didn't even know that about Aaron Mate. To distract from calling me a Russian agent is that he made a joke about her entire attire amounting to not nice new skirt. Like I'm not getting into that. I see it highlighted there, but I don't need to get into the bickering. The part I'm want to point out is that pieces like this are coming out now. Let's go to what Jordan said here. Pieces like this are coming out specifically about Jimmy Dore, and he actually did a video. I wonder if he put out a new one about this last Walker Bragman piece. But maybe it was coincidental that this came out, or when I noticed this, he happened to put out a video where I think the Daily Beast put out a hit piece on him. So maybe I'll bring up that video in a second. But to the point of the segment, these attacks are specifically because he's not down with the Democratic Party. The attacks on Sabby, the attacks on RBN are attacks specifically because we're saying no, 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 no. That's a hardline stance on the Democratic Party. And to the broader topic of the U.S., and this goes to the fight over the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party establishment is running in fear because they see the polls, they see the discontentment from all this last year has been terrible for the Democrats and the Democratic and the progressive Democrat sort of narrative with the strike breaking. And I always forget the last thing they just did, but the strike breaking, somebody help me out in the comments. Strike breaking this State of the Union speech they just did. But anyway, I'll look up the other thing. That always slips my mind. Let's read what Jordan says here. So let's move this segment along. Not surprised that pro-worker, free speech warrior Jimmy Dore traps his workers in a financially crippling gag order, or that the guy that dismisses and minimizes COVID, like I'm not getting into the COVID shit at all. So obviously, this is so. Oh my God, this is so stupid. But again, it's not a coincidence that it's the same people who are doing these sort of things for the same purpose in defense of the Democratic Party. So back to what I was saying. So you see the desperation in the Democratic establishment and the progressive narrative because they've taken so many blows. Oh, I wrote this down. That's how I can remember because I was like, I know I'm going to forget this. So I did write it down. So let's go to what I wrote down here. So let me just actually read. So as 2024 gets closer and closer, the Democratic establishment and their progressive henchmen see the writing on the wall about herding non-establishment people back to the Democratic Party. it's getting harder and harder. And one of the biggest, most anti-Democratic Party advocates is Jimmy Dore, even RBN. Signs it's getting harder and harder. And these are some of the signs I listed that it's getting harder and harder. And the desperation, this is why they're getting desperate. Because this is literally doesn't even rise to the reason to even write an article, in my opinion. So 12,000 DSA members leave DSA. In a year, 12, that is astonishing. Two Nina Turner races lost. What other bigger name as far as an elected person? What other bigger name than Nina Turner, who elected person, a person who has been elected but who is currently not serving, like Nina Turner? What other person of her stature in the progressive movement would you say is bigger than her that's lost? Wouldn't you say she's the biggest? That's a blow. She's lost twice, and then the second time was worse than the first. A clear sign that people are saying, I'm not with this shit. Another sign, the rail strike, breaking the rail strike, they're still not recovering, haven't recovered from that. And 4, the response to Marianne Williamson has not been good. The response to Marianne Williamson has not been good. So, where's that note at? That brings me to the last part, and that is the part that I forgot, the Freedom Caucus forced to vote moment. This is really has been a severe body blow. And you saw AOC come out with the relational harm video to try to excuse it and answer, and Ro kind of come out, yeah, they're doing all this cleanup because it's been clearly proven that they're milquetoast and they're not willing to really fight. So all of these sort of things have, have them down in account. Like they're down, the body blow, they've been knocked to the pavement. And they're trying to get up before the count. So there's this desperation, and there's these attacks on these anti-Democratic Party people or voices, like the Jimmy Dores, like the that was the wrong banner, the other way around, like the Jimmy Dores, like the RBNs. Yeah, I saw that too. I don't need to put that comment up there. And here is an article I want to bring up here. So let's put this article in the screen here. And then we'll read some more of what he says here. We'll read some more of what he says here. So we'll come right back to this. But to the point of the crisis that's happening here, World Socialist website, political crisis within Democratic leadership of the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA. And then this article written by Eric London points out the problem, the crisis right here. Let's read actually a little bit of this. 2 years after the coming to power of the Democratic administration of President Joe Biden, a political crisis has erupted inside the leadership of the Democratic Socialists of America. The crisis is rooted in the organization's inability to mask its increasingly naked pro-capitalist, pro-imperialist essence. A long string of actions by the DSA is breaking down the illusion of thousands of DSA members who joined the organization believing it was an opponent of imperialist war and capitalism. This. That's why I said, like I always say, with Nick on a couple of streams, the last 2 years for the Democratic Party in this progressive narrative have been devastating, and you see it in the numbers of the DSA. And let's scroll down to that part. Right here. DSA leadership acknowledged that it has produced growing disillusionment amongst the leadership. with leaders at a recent public forum noting widespread demoralization, exhaustion, and a mood of political uncertainty. A member of the DSA National Political Committee recently leaked information showing that 12,000 members have left the organization in the past year, and that many chapters and youth groups have either disbanded or no longer responding to calls from leadership. Now you understand the attack from Bragman on Jimmy Dore. It's out of desperation. You know, people attack us also because it's not often, because a lot of our videos are demonetized, but those that do aren't demonetized. Commercials play. Oh, y'all supposed to be socialists, and y'all got commercials. Yeah, how are we gonna make money in this capitalist society? It's literally, and I forget the phrase that somebody much smarter than me says, but it has something to do with. But anyway, I don't want to go off the tangent, because that does go on a tangent, but it feels similar to this attack. That's the point that I'm getting at, without going into a tangent here. So let's continue back to the thread here, and then we'll close up this segment and move on to the next one. Okay, so minimizes COVID disabling millions of workers and attacks teachers, treats workers like crap. Jimmy Dore says the same thing about it. A basic non-disclosure agreement standard for every job in media are financially crippling gag order. Maybe the guy who lost his job because he used his status as a reporter to rope women into pervy threesomes should probably sit this one out and let others grasp at straws. And that's perfectly put by Jimmy, in my opinion. Now, remember how I referred to Jordan as the guy who uses his status as a journalist to get credit for stuff? Here's another example. Fired from TYT for trying to use his status as a reporter to get something. Now, I'm not going to go into rope women and all that, but get something. That's the same thing he's still doing. Like when he recently, Status Quo craves tragedy so they can have somebody on the ground and be like, look, we're on the ground. If you don't believe me, go to the protests of Tyree Nichols, go to Status Quo and see. Every time they has a posting, on the ground is in bold. It's about getting credit, acknowledgement, using your status as a reporter to get something. It's not about the essence of being a reporter to report the corruption. It's using the status, using reporter or journalist as a status. That's what Jordan's all about. And I mean, why even, you knew Jimmy was gonna coup d'etat you here, so why even do that? And of course he was ratio, but I mean Jimmy has a lot more subscribers, I believe. So I can't believe that Jordan has 125,000 people that follow him, because sometimes he doesn't get 5 likes. I don't understand how that's even possible. And Jimmy has 435,000. So of course Jimmy's in that ratio. So this is not the ratio that other ratios could be. But I think I covered that enough. This is really pretty sad. But again, it's because it's out of desperation, and But it still doesn't make it not sad. Let me make sure I don't have any other receipts with this one that I saved. Yeah. Somebody else points out the same thing. Who is this? This is Gray Zone reporter. I'm gonna actually do this. And Anaya says, I don't recall hearing that Jimmy Dore's exit from the failing TYT project was due to his own behavior at the time. TYT did fire someone else for unacceptable pervy behavior, though, but I don't remember that guy's name. This is why this is such a PMC thing. Like, why bring this out if you have this in your back? I don't understand some people sometimes. I don't understand people sometimes.